Okay, so last week we learned about multiplying binomials. And so most of us use the table method. And we went to the table and we said x would go here, and then this would be -1, and then x would go here, and then 6 would go here. And we would be multiplying these because this is a binomial. There's one term, two terms, that's a binomial. One, two terms, binomial. No sign here, so that means to multiply. So in this box, we said x times x is x squared. In this box, we said -1 times x is -1x, so we could just say x. Here, we have x times 6, so that would give us 6x. And here we had -1 times 6, that would give you -6. And the one thing we noticed was this was our x squared, so we put this here. And then these were our like terms. We add these together. So 6x plus -1x, that would give us 5x. And then we would have our constant here, which is -6. Now we have a test on Wednesday. And some of the things you really need to remember is this is your constant, 5 is the coefficient. We still need to remember that this is the intercept form. And the intercept form, and this is going to be a quadratic equation because of the x squared. So remember the intercept form gives us the x-intercepts. So here is the R1. So that would give you, it crosses the x-axis at 1, 0. Here is the root 2, or R2, and so that would cross the x-axis at -6, 0. Remember, it's the opposite of the sign that is there. So we need to remember this is intercepts form. This is standard form, and the constant tells you where it crosses the y-axis. So it crosses the y-axis at -6. So as we are learning factoring and multiplying, I want you to keep the main idea in mind, which is these are quadratic equations. This is going to cross at the 1 here, and this is going to cross at the -6, and it has a y-intercept of -6. So we get that from all these different equations. So it's also positive. The a right here is positive, so we know that's going to point towards the positive. So this parabola is going to look, something like this. And you're going to need to be able to tell me that on your test tomorrow, or Wednesday, excuse me. You also need to know that -6 is the constant. This is standard form. This is slope-intercept form. And today we're going to be really focusing on taking it from standard form and putting it back into this intercepts form. So we're going to start with this equation. So you want to notice a couple of things. Our -6 here, and this 5 are 6 times -1 gives you -6, but the addition of them gives us our center term, and we're going to really be focusing on that. So you want to get your textbook open to page, let's see, this is page 736. So pause the video and go to 736. In the book method, it shows you how to take this box method we used to multiply and use that same box method to get back to the binomial we multiplied. So as we just did, we knew when we multiplied that our x squared goes here and our constant goes here. So using that knowledge in this box method, here is the equation we're starting with, x squared plus 10x plus 16. So they put this x squared in this first box, and they put the 16 in the last box. So then they're going to work backwards to figure out what we can put in these boxes here. Well, you know with the x squared is x times x. They went ahead and put those in. The hard part is figuring out what we multiply to give 16, because whatever we multiply to give us 16, those factors have to add to give us the middle term of 10x. So if we look down here, they said 2 times 8 is 16. And then this would give us 2x, this would give us 8x. And when you say 8x plus 2x, that gives us the 10x. So that works. And so to put this standard form back into the factored form, that would be x plus 8, because 8's positive, and x plus 2, because that 2 is positive also. So this binomial multiplies to our standard form, and you can check it by saying x times x is x squared, 2 times 8 was the 16, and they have 2x and 8x, and that equals 10x. So down in our textbook down here, we want to answer 4 and 5 together. It says, why don't these factors, these multiply to 16 too? Why could we not have used those up here? So if we look at that, those factors here, 2 and 8, had to add to the 10x. So our reasoning would be that when you take 1 plus 16, that would give you 17. And if we had the x's in there, that would give you 17x. Our center term was 10x, so that can't be right, okay? If we take 4x plus 4x, that equals 8x. And again, it had to equal our center term was 10x. So those factors can't work because they don't add to our 10x. They do multiply to the 16, which is what we needed, but they also had to add to the 10x. So if we look at our example down here, this is what we want to work with. This is our first term, and we know that x squared is going to go here. This is our constant, our c value. That's going to go here, okay? So we know that x times x is going to give us x squared there. The question is, what two multiples will multiply to 20, but these like terms that we're going to put right here, they're going to have to add to the center term, which is 9x. So which one of these will also add to 9x? So we're going to look at the multiple, or the factors of 20. We know 1 times 20 is 20, but when you add them, that equals 21, and we want it to equal 9. So 2 times 10 is 20, but when you add them, that gives you 12, and again, we want it to equal 9. So 3 is not a factor, but 4 times 5 is 20, and when you do 4 plus 5, you get 9, which is what we want here. So my two things I want to multiply are 4 and 5, because 4 times 5 is 20, and then here we'll have 4 times x, which is 4x, and then we'll have x times 5, which is 5x, and that together gives us our 9x there that we needed. So when I'm writing out my answer to this, the answer is right here. This times this. So we'll have x, and that's a positive 4, x plus 4. And then we have x plus 5. Okay? And again, if we want to check it, we know x times x is x squared, 4 times 5 is 20, and then 4x and 5x would give you 9x. So I want you to do this next one on your own. I'll get you a little bit started. We know that the x squared goes here, and the constant is 18, so that goes here. And then see if you can't figure out the rest. Okay? Pause it and come back to the video. So that was the box method for finding the factored form given the standard form. There's also another method that we can use, and it's sort of like a trial and error method. And if you want to take a minute and read through this page, it talks about factoring the trinomial, and we have to really figure out what multiplies to negative 24 but adds to negative 10. And so they go through and try to find terms that will multiply to negative 24. And they try a bunch of them. If they put 1 and 24 in here, negative 1 plus 24 gives you 23. So that won't work. So they try flipping their signs around. They try different methods of that. I think I have a better method than this. I like to think of it as like a chart method. And what I do is, this is, again, and you can use that box method we just did if you like that the best. I like more of what I make like a T-chart here. And I look at this and I say, I need factors of negative 24 to add to 5x. So I take my C term, negative 24, and I put it here. So the factors, I have to find factors of negative 24. So that's what multiplies to negative 24, right? But those factors have to add to my center term, which is 5x. So I put, oops, I'll put 5 here. And they have to add to this number. So I just go through and I start thinking of things. Now 5 is positive. So I know when I multiply, like if I were going to do 1 times 24, now obviously that's not going to work, but if I were going to do this, I'd want the 1 to be negative because I need to have a positive answer over here. So negative 1 times 24 does equal negative 24, but negative 1 plus 24 will give me 23. So I need it to equal 5, so that doesn't work. So I'm going to think of some other factors of 24. We know 6 and 4. So if I do 4 times 6, I want it to equal negative 24. I'm going to make the lower number negative because I want it to add to a positive. And then if I do negative 4 plus 6 here, that will give me an answer positive 2, which again, I need 5, so that's not going to work. I also think 3 times 8, and so again, I'm making the lower number 3 times 8. This multiplies to negative 24. When I take negative 3 plus 8, it adds to positive 5. So these are my factors that work here because I needed to add to 5. So very simply, all I have to do at this point is put in my 2 parentheses. I know x times x is going to give me the x squared. And then I know negative 3 and 8 are my factors. So I just do minus 3 and plus 8. And then that's my answer right here. I'm done. And if you want to double check it, we know x times x is x squared. Negative 3 times 8 is negative 24. And negative 3x and 8x gives you 5x. So again, I just like the chart method on that. And again, your overall goal is to find out what multiplies to your C value but adds to your B value here. So go ahead and try the T-chart method here, and then try to make a determination what you like best. Today we did a skin chart weight, and we found out that if you divide your weight by 16, it gives you the weight of your skin. So this is my son's favorite animal. It's the hippo. The hippo weighs 4,500 pounds, respectively. For extra credit today, or tomorrow morning, I want you to find out the skin weight of the hippo using our rule that we use today. And also write a sentence whether this is a valid answer or not. Okay? And have a great night.